Hari Om. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Namastute Vyasa Visala Buddhe Pullara Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purna Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipa. Om Dhanamulam Gururmurti Pujamulam Gurur Padam Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Mokshamulam Guru Kripa. Om Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yadkripatamaham Bande Paramanandamadhavam. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Maharani ki jai. Hari Om. पहुंच गए साहेब. हम लोग we are going to discuss now Srimad Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter. Yesterday we have discussed the 26th sloka. Today we shall see 27th. 26th explained us, wherever a being is born, whether unmoving or moving, know thou, O best of the Bharatas, O Arjuna, that it is from the union between the field and its knower of the field. When they get together, then only some being is manifested, formed. The field and the knower of the field. Knower of the field we can take as indweller of the field, or the owner of the field, or the user of the field. In every way we can take it. And when the knower, user, owner, when he wants to cultivate some crops, then only he will go to the field and he will plough the land and sow the seeds and go on taking care of it. In this way the crop is made. So in this way, when the field and the knower of the field, they get together only, then the result comes out. This we have seen yesterday. Today we shall see samam sarvesu bhutesu tishtantam parameswaram vinasyat savinasyantam yah pasyati sapasyati. We have, before it, we have discussed about three identities in this body. Who are the three? Who are those? The three are the who are the three? Of course, we are mostly discussing on the Jivatma and its Prakriti. Jivatma is the individual soul and the Prakriti is nature. Of course, we have been discussing all the time the Supreme Self, Prakriti Para, one who is above everything. Yeah. Param Parasa Maheshwara. We have discussed it. Upadrashta, where is it? Upadrashta manunta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti cha vikto dehesmin purusa para. So he is the third one or first one as you count it. Param Purusa. So he is the one beyond everything, above all, Maheshwara, and finally he is the enjoyer of everything, the creation, sustenance, and its destruction, everything. His presence is the cause, and that is known as the Karan Sharir or Karan Sharir, the causal body. And the individual body, that is called individual self. And then everything is done by the Prakriti, the nature. In this way we discuss about three entities. One is the Supremo, other is the lowest Prakriti, the energy, and in between the individual soul comes as the mediocre, connecting everything, doing everything, or enjoying everything. Purusa prakritisto hi mukte prakritijan gunan. So the individual soul enjoys everything, being united with the Prakriti, the nature. In this way, there is the cooperative society. All these we have seen. Now, he says, Samam sarvesu bhutesu tishtantam parameswaram, that Purusha Parah, the absolute self, the supreme self, he is abiding in all these beings. How the beings are manifested, that we have seen now. Javat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavar jangamam kshetra kshetragyayor kshetragya sanyogat tad vidhi bharatarshava. When the kshetra and kshetragya, they get united, they get together, then the beings are, individual beings are formed. But in this, just as the driver and the car, when they get united, the car moves on. But who is the final commander? The owner of the car will command. Without his permission, without his presence, his permission, the car cannot move. The driver cannot do anything. He has to rest in his room. He cannot come to. The key is in the hands of the owner. So this way, the owner of the car, who is the final commander-in-chief, without his consent, we have seen upadrashta anumanta. Anumanta, the permitter, one who permits. Anumanta, bharta, bhokta, maheshwara. He is all in all, the Supremo. In this way, again he has brought this point here to explain, though these individual souls and the Prakriti, they get together and they do everything, but the Suprema is present everywhere equally in all conditions. Samam sarvesu bhutesu tishtantam parameswaram vinasyat swavinasyantam yah pasyati sapasyati. Though these two, they get destroyed, they perish, the final, the Supremo never perishes. He is imperishable, the Supremo. He sees. He is the knower. Seeing means knowing perfectly. He sees, who sees the Supreme Lord existing equally in all beings. The unperishing within the perishing one, unperishing in the perishing, perishable, and the indweller, the final owner, who is equally everywhere. If the one body is destroyed, he is present everywhere. He is present in other bodies also. He is imperishable. Just as a great landowner who has got thousands of acres of land, some plots are overflooded by flood water and the crop is destroyed. He has nothing to worry about. Some other field has yield bumper crop. So he has nothing to do. Somewhere little loss, somewhere little gain. So plus minus becomes zero. Samam. Samam sarvesu bhutesu tishtantam parameswaram vinasyantam vinasyat swavinasyantam yah pasyati sapasyati in all beings. The unperishing in the perishing bodies, field and the knower of the field. He who beholds the Supreme Lord through the inner eye of wisdom, they say eye of wisdom, or the inner voice, inner eye, or the third eye, they say, Jnana Chakshu, the knowledge of eyes of knowledge. In this way, the great people, they term the Supreme Self and the vision of it, that awareness of it. He who beholds the Supreme Lord through the inner eye of wisdom, him who is seated in all beings, from the Creator down to the unmoving objects, and who is not destroyed even when all beings are destroyed, he is said to have realized the self. He who sees in this way, he is called the self-realized person. He is one with the Supreme Lord. He has realized this self. In this way, he is said. Sometimes we see this is said like this. We always say, iti uktaha, it is said. Said by whom? Many times we see it is said. Who said it? It is said by the authentic authors, whose words, whose sayings have got real meaning, who everybody is bound to obey it. The author says like that. Who is the author then? We have seen Upadrashta Anumantacha, Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. So one who is one with it now, we are discussing now. One who sees like this, he is said to be realized soul. So realized souls, one who has a complete 100% identity with the Supremo, they are the authors. Whatever they say, that is to be accepted by everyone. It is in the Constitution. Who made the Constitution? The government. Your national government has made the Constitution. So everybody is bound to obey it, respect it, and do accordingly. In this way, the highest author is the Supremo. Whatever he says, everybody has to helplessly obey it. Helplessly. Because you are nothing, you have nothing to do. So it is said by the great people who have got authority to say. License. You know license? In common worldly parlance, we have everywhere, we have to obtain license for everything, permission from the authority. So if you have a car, you have to register it, you have to get license, and then you can drive the car. If you have got some property, you have to get the permission from the government, then you can use it. In every sense, permission is required, and that is called license. If you are selling something, some drugs or something, you have to get permission from the authorities. So in this way, this license is to be obtained by everyone who tread this path in spiritual field also. There are licenses. There are many licenses. Our great Vivekananda, he used to do something which is not generally accepted by the common sadhu society. And sometimes some people complained against him to Paramahansa Deva, Ramakrishna. So he said, "Oh ji, he has got license. He has got license to do anything. You can sell wine in the roadside also if you have got license. Nobody is going to ask you." There was one doctor. He used to come to Paramahansa Deva's satsang every day. He used to sit silently in a corner and observe, hearing the wise words of Paramahansa Deva. Though he was illiterate, his experience, his words were essence of the scriptures. Anyway, people used to come and sit and observe him. So, but he was sitting silently, and Paramahansa Deva always was observing him. And this fellow comes and sits silently, doesn't talk. One day he asked, "Oh man, you come every day and sit there. What do you want? What do you want?" You say, "Sit silently. Come on." Of course he knew. Yet you have to ask. So the doctor says, I want to open dispensaries in every village of whole India. Nobody should be deprived of getting medical help. This is what I want." Oh, they laughed at him. "Oh, have you got license?" License? For this? Where from license has to be got? He didn't answer what. He went home. He was thinking all the time, continuously, where from I have to get a license? Is there some license required to open hospitals? Next day he comes and asks, "My master, I didn't understand where the license is available. Where from I have to get? Then Paramdev explained everything. The license giver is there above. The above government gives license to do Loka Sangraha, social work, social reformers, and all these great people, they have license from the above government. And that is obtained by Vivekananda, not by everyone. He is authorized to do anything and everything. So in this way, license, the absolute permission. That means we are discussing in the morning, Daiva Chaivatra Panchamam, to perform any events, any actions, the whole world has to be involved in it, then only the work is done. And Karta, Adhishtanam tatha Karta, Karanam cha prithak vidhan, vividhascha prithak chesta, Daiva Chevatra Panchamam, the Niyati, the all-controller, the above government, the president, has to put this seal. Then only it is approved, or else unless and until whatever is passed in the assembly, unless and until the president gives his consent, it is useless. It is not worth having. In this way, he is the Anumanta, permitter, the final authority. So here he says, one who knows like this, he is said to be realized self. He is said to be realized self, said by the authority. You know, Vishwamitra did terrific tapas, penance to be Brahmarshi. He was a Rajarshi, he was a king, and he did so many sacrifices, so many penance he did, severe penance, and he was a great, great saint. But he was not called, he was not taken as the Brahmarshi. Our Vasishtha was Brahmarshi. So, somewhere he was said to be Rajarshi only, not Brahmarshi. So he said, how can I become Brahmarshi? If the Brahmarshis will accept you as Brahmarshi, then you will be a Brahmarshi. If you are accepted as a monk in the society of the monks, then only you are accepted as a monk. Or else you are not accepted, you cannot become a monk by yourself. You are a doctor only then when the university gives you the certificate, then only. So in this way, he tried his level best to persuade Vasishtha, but Vasishtha never did it for a long, long time, because Rajarshi Vishwamitra had the ego. And when that ego was crossed, then only Vasishtha said, Oh, Vishwamitra the Brahmarshi, come on. Then he was accepted as Brahmarshi, or else not. Till then he was Rajarshi, a step lower. Yes, he had the fight against Vasishtha, and he could not win over Vasishtha, though Vasishtha had nothing. Till Brahmastra, Vasishtha was defending himself from everything. Nothing harm could be done by Vishwamitra. So he thought, oh, he is such a powerful man. I am the knower of all the Dhanurved, everything. I am the authority. And yet I could not win over this fellow. So real Brahma Balam Hi Balam. So he is really mighty fellow. So I have to become Brahmarshi. Then he was trying. In different kinds of fire, the heat is same, isn't it? Gold is the same in different form of ornaments. The light from many lamps is the same. So also in all living beings, the soul is the same. The soul or the self is uniform everywhere, samam. The self is the same in ants, elephants, kings, beggars, saints, and rogues. And one who sees equally everyone, he is called, here in Gita, it is said, Sunichaiva swapakecha panditaha samadarsina. The real seers, the man of knowledge, they see equally in every being. The same Lord abides everywhere. Eko devo sarva bhutesu gudha. One Lord abides in all the beings. How? Just as here we have got the examples, the same fire in all the fires, same heat in all the fires, same gold in all the ornaments, same water in all the waves. Similarly, the same self, indweller in all the beings, irrespective of small or big, or ants or elephants. The self is indestructible. All living beings are perishable. Living beings are perishable. It is the Supreme Lord when compared to the body, sense, mind, intellect, the unmanifested nature, and the individual soul. The Supreme Lord is imperishable. He never perishes. His presence is eternal, continuous. Birth is the root cause of the bhava vikaras or the modifications which is called change, growth, decay and death. All these are vikaras, modifications. Body has to undergo all these changes. The other changes of state manifest themselves after the birth of the body. When the body is born, then all these changes, they are but natural. The Supreme Lord is one and changeless. As He is birthless, decayless and deathless, He is the one common consciousness in all beings. He sees rightly who sees the Supreme Lord as now described, the common in every being. In every being, being means manifested, unmanifested, both. He is a Jivan Mukta. He has knowledge of the knower of the field or the immortal self. He is the real seer of a liberated sage. He is real seer or a liberated sage. He is a sage who has been liberated, who has been freed from these modifications of the body, and which is nothing but the world. All these names and forms which constitutes this world, only names and forms, they are subject to modifications, changes. So one who is not changeable, without any change, which is common in every object, in every name and form equally, he is called the Supreme Self, and one who knows it, he becomes it. Brahmavit Brahmeva Bhavati. This point one has to understand thoroughly. When you know the self, you become the self. When you know something, you are one with it. Then only you can know it 100% correctly. Haphazard knowledge, of course, everybody in any condition we can get little or more by contact of the senses with the sense objects for a while, for a moment. They get some information, some parts of the reality, and that is not real knowledge. This we have explained so many times. Real knowledge is to be it. That means 100% you have to do what you want to know. It is just like the amoeba. How does the amoeba grow? Its propagation is self, dividing itself. We have innumerable cells in our body, but monocellular is the job. Many other amoebas are found in water also, everywhere. when they get their prey, they overpower it from all sides and swallow it within. And then it is digested and they become one with it and they grow and they divide themselves into two. And it goes on so quickly as a chain reaction. So in 1 minute there will be thousands. The moment it captures the prey, it becomes one with it, and then and there it divides into two. In this way, the germs of diseases or other amoebas, they grow in no time. This is how the disease spreads. So what I mean, one has to become one with the object, then only you capture it, know everything about it. This is how, if you know about something, you have to lose your identity. You have become now one with the object, and then you know everything about it. That is called real knowledge. Till then we have got some informative knowledge. Knowledge is of two kinds. One is informative, which is subject to change, and the other is experiential, which is equal in all conditions, in all the beings. That is called the self, and that is common in every being. The sage alone sees properly on account of his knowledge. The whole world sees erroneously with errors. Some new word, erroneously. Of course it is not usually, erroneously, with error. The whole world sees erroneously or on account of ignorance only, which we are just now we are discussing informatively, haphazardly, wrongly. He who is suffering from defective vision, beholds many moons. You see 2 moons you can see if you now itself you can experiment. The moon is there in the sky. Just place your eyes, the lower lid, and see there will be 2 moons, 3 moons, many moons you can see. And sometimes people suffering from what is that disease? जो पीला देखते हैं, jaundice. There the eyes get defected, they get polluted, and the person sees everywhere only yellowish. So, when the eyes are defective, our machines are defective. When the spectacle, your specs are defective, you are going to see only defects. You cannot see the right things. So this is how when your intellect is polluted with ignorance, Your mind gets a haphazard knowledge, only informations. Whatever you know, that is not perfect. From this point we can come to another decision. You see, when you have this defective knowledge, erroneous knowledge, what happens? You feel something lacking in you. You are imperfect. You are not 100% correct. That brings you a feeling that you are not perfect, you are not 100% right. That knowledge which is there in your heart of hearts, that creates the desires to be perfect. Our journey of the life, evolution process is nothing but this process to become perfect. When one becomes perfect 100%, then your journey stops there, ends there. That is the end of your life's journey. Until then, we have innumerable desires because of this feeling, I am not perfect. Inwardly, everybody knows I am not perfect. In every sense, the body is subject to imperfection. It needs so many things. Sometimes the heat, sometimes the air, sometimes the water aspect in the body, they get disbalanced, and then diseases, and body suffers from hunger, and water supply. Everybody is, nobody can live without water, because body needs always something to be washed out, to be cleaned. So in many ways this body is so imperfect. Every moment everything is needed for fulfilling the needs. In this way, everybody, all the beings, not only human beings, all the beings, they have the feeling of imperfection inside their heart of hearts. That's how they have desires. That's how to fulfill the needs. To fulfill the desires, they have to be restless ever and ever, whole life. Our life is only to fulfill the desires. This is the reality. Knowingly or unknowingly, nobody is aware of all these. Who has time to think all these? We are ever engaged in earning money or name and fame or doing something for our progenies. The whole life is spent in this way, uselessly. He who is suffering from defective vision beholds many moons. He sees erroneously, but he who sees one moon only, he sees in the proper manner, correctly. Even so, he who beholds the one immortal, imperishable self, who sees one perfectly, he is the real seer. He who sees many distinct selves erroneously does not really see. Though he sees, yet he doesn't see. This is how we go to say, we see but don't see, we hear but don't hear, we do everything but wrongly we do everything. Our actions are always imperfect, haphazard, meaningless, useless, and we are so habituated. Since birth, nobody knows how many births before, we have cultivated this habit, which very hardly can be corrected, is willing to rectify himself. And our habit is always to find fault with others, not with us. One who can find fault with himself, he is a right man who can rectify himself, who can go quickly towards the final perfection. And that is the journey of life, and that is how one reaches the final perfection, the final supreme knowledge. He becomes one with it, not to part from it again. He is like the man who beholds many moons, who sees many selves erroneously. His eyes are defective. Samam pasyani sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram nahinasthyatmanatmanam tato jati param gati. This we shall see tomorrow. One who sees equally the oneself in everybody, everywhere, in all conditions, he is the real seer, and he becomes one with the object, the final one, and that's how he knows it, he becomes it, he is one. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om. Not tomorrow, tomorrow means day after tomorrow.